Hey everybody, welcome into the Outer Rhythm Fantasy Sports. Anyways, it's actually been a hot minute, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of like I don't even know how to do an intro anymore. I'm kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there we go. We got sound back.
no, just one sound effect, but yes, it is college season. It is our prime for us to dive into waivers, talk a little recap of some college games and all those fun, fancy dancy things, as I guess I would say, I guess. But college fantasy is here, and I don't know what else there is to actually really say, but yeah.
Yeah. We're back. New college season. Week 1 was pretty interesting. I can hear the Roomba outside the door. It's doing its job. It's going around and cleaning up the house. But we got to clean up the house, Jay. We got to pay the bills here. We got to plug our social media. Obviously, as always, my name is the X. Jamie's is Out of Rhythm Fant at you can find us on Spotify. I got all the previous shows archived over there as well. So if you want to listen to us from 2 years ago, if you want to listen to last year, hell, if you want to listen to this show, this will be up soon. You know what? Go over to Spotify, check it out. If you like the visual, obviously we're on YouTube. And then Discord, we kind of chime in here and there as well with some of our thoughts and the
Well,
gram, Instagram. We should have more photos up, but we don't. But we're it's always, as we always say, it's a work in progress. So
yeah, well, it's actually when I have the time to make up some graphics of my
yeah,
own and, storylines or something like that, little graphics for, I don't know, just some random graphics. I don't know. I'm actually gonna, have some, I think I might do a story on Waiver Ads, which I kind of already got kind of done. So those will be out on that and TikTok too as well. So just a couple platforms over there that I'm kind of working on as I can. But yeah. Anyways, we have a couple comments already. Do you guys move to Hawaii? Why did I
Hawaii.
get started past? But
Oh, we started.
honestly, Donovan, I think that's what happened.
Is this guy? Wait. I don't even know which direction to point anymore. No.
That way, just
Yeah,
gotta go that way.
yeah. Damn it.
No, you
Oh,
dyslexic. Go that
there we
way.
go. Here we go.
Yes,
We'll listen
Jared,
to
we can't
future
wait.
episodes. Maybe.
I don't know.
Me and Jamie are big Back to the Future fans. So we'll get a DeLorean and Jared can hop in hop in with us so we can go listen to our show from 5 years from now. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
D did that too. So no, I'm dude, I'm over the moon. New college season. I'm man, I don't even know where to start. Uh
Well, did you
what
watch?
stood out to you? What stood out to you from? I guess it's week 0 or whatever the hell we want to call it. Dude, it's like 5 games, but if you want to include week 0, but like, did anything stand out to you from week 1?
Well, week 0 to week 1. Well, first of all, we're in the hell is Chase Sowell. Our transfer from ECU hasn't even
I
played
know.
in 2 games.
MIA.
I have not heard any news that he was injured or anything like that. So I'm kind of curious on why he has not have been playing already, which is kind of like, kind of intriguing a little bit to kind of hear why he's not been playing so far already. But I did watch that game a little bit. Thursday's game though, I mean, I watched some Byron Brown, had some, South Bulls, so I was pretty intrigued the way Brian was actually freaking tossing the ball, stepping into it, taking a little bit more risks, the opening
Jay,
game. So I was damn impressed.
we were spot on. Byron Brown, like we we told you, if you listen to our preview, we said, hey, buy some stock in this guy. People are sleeping on him. I guess Caden Salter, he was kind of, skipping some balls, the Colorado game, but Caden Salter looked decent, but not as good as Bynum Brown. Bynum Brown is like, Boise didn't even have a prayer. That was a beatdown. South Florida is going to be a sleeper this year. I could easily see them winning 10 games. I mean, they're going to, and Brown's going to put up massive fantasy numbers, and it's going to be like 2023 all over again.
Yeah, I know. I watched Tulane a little bit Saturday too. I mean, they didn't have any logo on their helmet, so I was like, "What the hell?" But I mean, they looked all right. They looked all right. I mean, they had a couple takeaways and whatnot here. I think they had 5 takeaways over this weekend. So I mean, I like that. I actually did watch. I don't have one of those, unfortunately. But anyways, no, I did watch a little bit of that Colorado game, and I don't know. I mean, it really looks. They weren't. I mean, they did move the ball a little bit. Salter looked a little shaky, but I think this was the first game. So I was kind of like. And then I almost forgot about our transfer from Tulsa. I was kind of looking to see what he would have did, but he didn't get to. I think he only had a couple of receptions, 30 yards tops, no touchdown or anything like that. But I'm hoping he can get more acclimated with Salter. Maybe this will, maybe see a little bit change with Colorado a little bit. They did lose. I mean, they played pretty decent, but not the greatest for me, I guess. I wasn't really impressed either. I mean, they pretty much gave up that game at the end, so I'm like, yeah. I'll go ahead.
No. I think Colorado's going to rebound. I think they'll be fine. They got good coaching. I mean, Dion's got a bunch of NFL guys on the coaching staff, so I think
they have Marshall Falk as a running back guy. Coach. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't see any more.
He's not. Jay, I'm surprised he's not putting on the pads. I know, I know they brought some young bodies in there, to try to help the running game, because they had no running game last year. Dead last in the Big 12, probably dead last in the whole country. But excuse me, they have Marshall Falk, and I know Warren Sapp's their coach, but obviously they don't have LeJontay Wester or Travis Hunter, catching passes this year, so it'll be a little bit of a struggle. But Caden Salter, if he can kind of, I don't know, he's a permanent watch list guy in the fantasy world. We don't know if he's ever going to replicate what he did 2 years ago, but it's worth keeping an eye on. And games are usually high scoring in the Big 12, so I'm not going to write Caden Salter off after one game or Colorado.
Here's my question. I mean, what do you actually think of Boise State, their first game?
Ick.
Yeah, I was like, what? I mean, I know this is coming post, not having Genty and stuff like that, because they're pretty much ground and pound, and it really didn't look like they had a lot of offense going. Especially, I was like, that or anybody that's really fantasy relevant, but I know they're gonna be a totally way looking. The team's gonna be looking way different. Let's put it that way. We haven't hit that preview yet, but I mean, we will be hitting all those other college previews as well. So we'll know a little bit more once we get the rest of our previews done. So those will be coming too as well. We have Conference USA, which will probably be Friday too as well, since we're talking about that, So if you are watching us right now, Friday, we're going to have another stream here. We're going to deep dive into the Conference USA as well. So just, give us a, nice little, like and subscribe too as well. If you want to, G5 teams and whatnot,
G5?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
I gotta love LA Knights back, and but no, just kind of close up on the Boise stuff, man. They're in big trouble this year. Madsen, the quarterback, he didn't look terrible, but they're not going to have a running game. Ashton Denty, he covered a lot of ground last year. You know what I mean? Like he probably gave them four extra wins. I mean, let's just be honest. That they wouldn't have had. And and kind of put them on a national profile. And I don't know. We're doing some of the less sexy games, I guess. Nebraska beat Cincinnati.
Yeah,
I think
that
game
one was.
wasn't
I
that
mean,
wasn't
that
that game
one
in
was.
Arrowhead? Wasn't that game down in Kansas City?
No, I think that was at Nebraska. I don't remember exactly. It was
I think it was.
either way.
I think it
That
was a
was
neutral site game.
Nebraska almost lost that game.
They did, yeah. But I mean, but it's not like they lost to an FCS team or a low end FBS, a G5 school or something. I mean, Cincinnati is a decent Big 12 program, so get off the season to the right start, get a dub. Raiola, I have to give it a few more games, but he doesn't look any better than he did last year, his freshman year. So
And I think that's a little,
eh,
a lot of these games that were kind of happened where I think, there's going to be a lot of fine tuning when it comes to a lot of these games and whatnot, get more reps underneath them, more, just more targets, more people. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. First games are probably going to look a little sloppy here and there because not so many teams really kind of already played. I mean, Iowa State, they already had 2 games. They already played 2 games, played week 0, so they already got some time underneath them already, so there's a couple teams, a little advantage or disadvantage when it comes to that. I think week 0, they should just do away with that because it's total garbage.
We know what it's about.
Yeah.
Money. Too much money. But they didn't even put, dude, we were talking about this because I was up where Jamie was at the previous weekend, and we were talking about that. We're like, that game already happened? What? They didn't put, week 0, they didn't put K-State, Iowa State in primetime. It was like I know it was in Ireland or whatever, but it was at a random time of the, like, I don't know if that was your marquee game that weekend, because obviously it wasn't Fresno State. It wasn't Fresno State, Kansas. It wasn't Hawaii, Stanford. You know what I mean? Like, if that was your marquee game, like, I don't know why you wouldn't put it in prime time. But yeah, week 0 was kind of a joke. Week 1 was respectable. Obviously, everybody's put their 2 cents in about Arch Manning and Texas, and I guess we tried to stay away from that because I'm not going to write the kid off after. He had a couple games he played last year. I know they were lesser competition, but a few games he played last year, he played pretty well. Not going to write Arch off quite yet. Julian Sand from Ohio State, he looked decent. I mean, it was a defensive clash. I mean, there was no fantasy points to really go around for anybody.
I mean, for most of us who actually drafted Jeremiah Smith,
Jeremiah Smith didn't do anything.
We were rather very disappointed in that aspect of things because I'm like, here I am, I'm playing in a money league and for college football and Jeremiah Smith does nothing for me, and I end up losing my first game. So I'm like, what? It's just pissed me off a little bit, but I mean, I think those are gonna take. It's gonna take some time for adjustments and stuff like that, and where teams are getting more in rhythm with each other and stuff like that. So, and especially with Texas too, so that was, I think, was gonna be really a crunch match, and a lot of defense and stuff like that. So I mean, not a lot of scoring. So whoever they're playing next, I'm sure the game's gonna be a little bit more far open in that aspect, as far as offense wise. Anyways,
I think Texas is playing San Jose State, aren't they?
Not sure.
They were playing. But yeah, that's gonna be a shootout. We know how many. We remember last year with Nick Nash how many. Emmett Brown, how many high-scoring games San Jose State had out in the Mountain West. So, yeah, and that's a defense that Arch should be able to pick apart. I mean, he's not facing Matt Patricia, and the whole, pretty much they have a NFL defensive coaching staff for Ohio State. You know what I mean? So he's gonna be playing San Jose State. So if we're having this same discussion next week about Arch, and he has 190 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 pick or something, then I'll be like, I don't know about Arch, but I'm not going to write him off after 1 game. San Jose State should be just what he needs to remedy that. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on another one of the big games? I guess Florida State and Alabama. Like I don't know, people are losing their minds. Alabama, they're the dredge, whatever, the dredges of the earth, or they lost. It's like they lost one game. Florida State. Newsflash: Florida State's got a good NIL budget. Newsflash: Florida State's been a good program for a lot of years. They weren't going to stay. Yeah. Jeremiah Smith's NIL deal. Donovan's got down there. Yeah, he's living handsomely. And Ohio State won, so I don't think he really gives a shit. He'll be driving around in his Lambo and whatever. Florida State wasn't going to be 2-10 forever. So Florida State might be respectable this year. Castellanos, the quarterback they got from Boston College, like he looked really good.
Yeah, I was kind of I was kind of impressed with with him because he was able to move the ball up and down. He was making throws and whatnot. So I was like, damn. I'm like, FSU. I'm like tearing up freaking Alabama. I'm like, I figured this was gonna be the opposite. The opposite. I figured Alabama was going to win and whatnot. I'm like, I'm like, so I wasn't even going to watch the game. I kind of watched little bits and pieces of it here and there and whatnot. But I think there were a couple of spots where it was kind of rainy too as well. So but I think that kind of bypassed some of the game too. But I mean, other than that, I was kind of like, wow. I'm like FSU. I'm like, I mean, it's a good start for them. I mean, get another dub in there. That'll be match what they did last year. So.
Gotta eat them. When you can get them.
Yeah, Kansas State almost lost this weekend to North Dakota.
Yeah, UND. Yeah. Up in our part of the world, North Dakota. Small school up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, almost beat K-State. Yeah, and I'm self-admittedly that's my team. I'm a K-State fan. They look like trash. I mean, statistically, like fantasy wise, like Jace Brown, number one fantasy receiver right now. That's not going to stay. That's not going to last because he's played 2 games, obviously, and some other guys have only played 1. But right now, Jace Brown from K-State, number one fantasy receiver going. Avery Johnson, I think, is the number 2 fantasy quarterback going. But so I mean, like they've been putting up stats, but their defense is garbage, and I don't know what the hell they're. I mean, they're looking at probably a 7-5 season. Like they're just not that good. They're not going to compete with. Obviously, they lost to Iowa State, neutral site game. Not as good as Arizona State. Probably not even as good as Texas Tech. Teams like that. So K-State's in a little bit of trouble too.
Did you see any of the Michigan-New Mexico game?
Haynes, the running back from Michigan, the Alabama transfer, I was impressed with him. I was like, wow, okay. Because he was I think he was like the number 1 running back in the transfer portal. I didn't think very much of it because he didn't do much at Alabama. So I wasn't like, this guy a world beater, but he proved me wrong.
Yeah,
he's better than what they had last year, Donovan Edwards and
Caleb Mullins,
Mullins.
I mean, I was kind of curious to see what Underwood would do. I figured maybe at least have like 20 yards rushing. But I mean, this first game, I mean, New Mexico really isn't a real high-powered defense where he didn't really have to scramble much. So I mean, I'm sure with their schedule coming up, there'll be a time where he'll probably end up running here. Before too long. Anyways, I can look that up here real quick.
They're gonna have to. I mean, Michigan.
Oklahoma's next on the list. So.
Yeah. I had that game circled. It's on our bottom. We have like the week 2 matchups. I put some of the notable games, like some ranked teams in there. Obviously, you see Baylor and SMU scrolling by, Iowa State. I put Michigan, Oklahoma in there. I'm curious to see how John Mateer is going to do against Michigan's defense.
Yeah.
We know how. I mean, John Mateer was the number 1 fantasy quarterback last year with Washington State, and he's been highly touted going to OU. I mean, all the OU, Boomer Sooner, like the whole clan. They circled the wagons. They're all excited for this. So Can't wait to see what he does against Michigan's defense. And if he tears them up too, the discussion needs to end about him just being a small school fantasy guy into being like, this guy could win the Heisman. That discussion needs to end if John Mateer tears up Michigan.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy it. So other than that, I'm just a couple more games. Here I am. I enjoyed the BYU game. I liked watching that game, late night, Pac-12 after dark. Actually watched.
Is it Bear Bachmeier?
Yeah.
He looked good. I mean, I was surprised they put he was like the 35th, 36th ranked quarterback in this recent quarterback class. Not very highly rated, and I was shocked that he was going to be Retzloff's replacement, kind of that going into this year. But at least for a game, he looked decent for a young guy. He looked no worse than Bryce Underwood looked.
Yeah, for sure. I like the fact that some of these colleges are starting freshmen. I mean, get these guys started early. I mean, unless I know the veterans beating them out or something. But I mean, I like the fact that we have freshman quarterback starting. I mean, look at Sam from Arizona State. I mean, it took him a little time, but he came into his own last year. And so I'm liking it. It gives us a chance, as far as guys are playing dynasty. We can get some of these younger guys on our team, have them for a few years, and already know what they're going to be before they hit the NFL. So I mean, that's just a perk there in my eyes, anyways. The sad game I want to talk about here real quick is actually the Utah UCL game. And I honestly thought Nico was going to look a little bit better than promised. But, Dampier really ran all over them and whatnot. So I was actually kind of surprised that Utah looked this damn good. And I was like, because last year, a couple of years before, and I'm like, I'm out in Utah. I mean, I love watching some Utes football and whatnot. And I was like, dude, I might be back.
They roped you back in, Jay.
Yes.
It's amazing what getting rid of a 10-year college player that gets hurt every year, Cam Rising, that filthy bastard. It's amazing what getting rid of him. Yeah, like LA Knight says. Devin Dampier, I've been singing this guy's praises all off season. I remember how good he was at New Mexico, one of the top 5 fantasy quarterback last year. He's about to enter the discussion. People are going to know about this guy. They're going to know about this guy nationally, not just, fantasy guys that are like us, weirdos that just love this shit. Like whole country's going to know. I was a year early. I think you liked Utah a lot last year too, going into the year. Before they shit the bed and went 4-8, but I think we were a year early. I think we said they were going to make the college playoffs last year.
Yeah, we did.
But I think they're gonna win the Big 12. I think it's going to come down to Iowa State, Arizona State, and Utah. One of those 3 teams is going to win the conference. It's good to see Utah's back kicking ass. UCLA's a joke. Nico, at least he got paid. His career just might go into, we'll see. It's not going to get any easier. They got a Big Ten schedule. So, I don't care enough about UCLA to have their schedule right in front of me, but I'm guessing there's probably a mixture of Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, even Indiana. Indiana's going to wax them. Like, UCLA is in a lot of trouble. Nico better enjoy those paychecks.
I don't know. I mean, I thought, with Nico maybe transferring a little bit, but maybe it's just my thought because I see Nico at Tennessee and whatnot, and him transferring out or whatever. I'm like, ooh, this might be and bring some spark to the team, and maybe I'll watch a couple of UCL games and whatnot. So I was like, okay. But I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, they got some easy games here. So the end of the month, they have UNLV, New Mexico, and Northwestern. So I mean, those games could be easily won,
winnable.
But yeah. I mean, and in October, I could see him going 0-4 because they have Penn State, Michigan, Maryland, and Indiana. So
Yeah, and oh yeah. Yeah. Let's just say they won't be making a bowl game this year. So yeah, we won't be here unless Nico does some statistical magic, or he does some fantasy noteworthy fantasy stuff. We won't be hearing much of Nico and UCLA this year.
probably not.
Probably not.
There might be a couple good games here and
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah.
other than that, I don't think we'll be seeing a whole lot of him. I did catch a little bit of the Miami game. They beat Notre Dame there. I didn't really watch it because I had to work, so that one's kind of interesting.
Just more of the same of, I guess Carson Beck looked a little better than he did last year, but I'm not a Carson Beck guy. CJ Carr on Notre Dame, just a young guy. Notre Dame doesn't really have any good receivers at all. Jeremiah Love didn't do much anything, stud running backs. Yeah, I mean, it's already been said that the bigger games, the bigger pundits on ESPN and CBS Sports and FS, all those other outlets, they've already beaten these games to death. So, nothing really stood out to me. They could both these teams could still make the playoff. So,
yeah, and then the last game, Monday night game, freaking TCU Tar Heels.
That's his team. He's wearing an Oklahoma State hat right now, but he bleeds Tar Heel blue. He bleeds that baby blue. Jay, I know you got to be hurting. You had to be excited. Oh fuck, Bill Belichick's. Oh, we got Belichick.
That's right. That's what I thought too. Honestly,
Jay, even Gio Lopez. I mean, I know people probably don't know a ton about the guy, but I remember him last year in fantasy with South Alabama. He was, there were some weeks he was cranking out some at least statistically, some really good weeks. And so I was excited coming into the year, and and they've had decent, especially running backs. I mean, Omarion Hampton, he's going to be a stud rookie with the Chargers. So I mean, they've had some decent players at UNC, even before Belichick. And so you had to be excited. Like, you're probably like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. I was like, what the frick just happened here? I didn't get it. Well, I know we didn't really get a chance to really deep dive into the ACC yet, but I mean, Gio was probably going to be one guy I was kind of looking at. I know they got a couple other different transfers, but I know you mentioned, he played a couple of years at South Alabama. The last year he threw about 2,500 some odd yards, or 250 some odd yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, which isn't bad. 14 sacks. I mean, I don't know, with somebody like him, with Belichick being there, I would think that, he can mold, somebody like him into being I really wouldn't say a superstar or anything like that, but someone that can actually, maybe drive the offense, make some good plays, be in the pocket a little bit, and, gives his kids some wisdom, where, maybe North Carolina is actually somewhat good,
They need something because, defense, the defense, that's Belichick's baby, right? They couldn't stop TCU. They couldn't stop Josh Hoover. They couldn't stop, our guy Dwyer. The kid from Idaho, the FCS guy that came in, couldn't stop him. He was catching balls all over the field. UNC's in trouble. Especially if Florida State is back this year and Miami's good again, and some of the other ACC like Syracuse should be decent. Some of the other ACC programs UNC's in trouble.
Yeah, I would honestly think so. But other than that, I think that's gonna wrap up our week one, recap a little bit there. This is us kind of talking about fantasy relevant players and just kind of talking and just what we thought overall on games and whatnot that we saw, games that we saw and whatnot. So. But yeah, other than that, I think it's going to be time for us to switch gears and run on over to hit some waiver wire. We're going to see which guys you guys maybe
Getting
pick
winded.
up, but don't rush too quick to the waiver wire. I know some of us were maybe a little disappointed, with some of our guys that we drafted this year, but give it another week before you just dump them to the waiver wire and just say bon voyage, see you later.
Bon voyage.
Yeah. But I mean, but other than that, just don't dump them to the waiver wire quite yet. But I mean, if there's some guys that are on your bench who really didn't perform well, I mean, this might help you out a little bit.
Yes. So we might do a G5 segment here coming up, but Jay, I'm going to start with the regular, which is a combination of all what is it, 136 teams.
Yeah.
So any player is eligible in this first top 5 list that I've got. I just picked 5 of the waivers that I would look at. Maybe throw in a couple extras, for guys to look at as well. It just depends on position. I tried to mix it up where it's got, a little bit of everything. There it is. Oh yes. Yep. So we have a quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, running back, and a defense. Kickers don't care. So what do we say? What do we say, Jay? They're interchangeable. They really are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so yeah, kickers and and if we had a 6th spot, it would probably go to another running back or receiver or something. So, Brad Jackson. Yeah, I didn't know who he was either. And we do college. We're college guys, and we didn't know Brad Jackson.
Well, maybe if they watched our Sunbelt preview, I mean, I did mention a couple wide receivers.
You did mention a couple Texas State guys, but the quarterback, we didn't know who was going to start. I mean, it was still up in the air, even this summer, so probably as soon as August. I mean, we didn't know who the hell was going to start. We knew they were going to, statistically, we knew they were going to be good because Texas State has, one of the best offenses in their conference, probably a top 15, 20 offense in the country. I mean, Texas State can move the ball with ease. But yeah, Brad Jackson, redshirt freshman, he's going to be the one patrolling, as they say, patrolling the field. Only 26% rostered. I think he's only like 5 or 6% started. So I mean, get in on some of these guys. Like we mentioned last year. Get in on some of these guys. Week 1, week 2. Brad Jackson is a computer-generated name. Yeah, sounds like a generic, 2K football. Like we just made it up. Brad Jackson. Yeah, it's a dumb name, but if he's the guy that's going to be slinging the pill this year for Texas State,
it almost makes me think of Brad Johnson from
Brad Johnson. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was about to say that. I'm like Brad Johnson, Brad Jackson. But no, if he's slinging the pill this year for Texas State, we could be looking at a kind of an off the radar 28 touchdown, 30 touchdown kind of guy. Just the way Texas State scores in their offense. So he's random now, but come December, he might be like, oh shit, okay, Texas State's in a bowl game, and damn, okay. He had 27 touchdowns and 9 picks or something. Like, just a respectable, damn good season. So I put him at number 1. Had a good week 1. Obviously, all these the players and the defense, they all had good week 1s. But number 2. Oh, go ahead, Jay. If you have a thought.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, for when I was looking at the waiver wire, I mean, there was a tons of just just not wide receivers, but quarterbacks. I'm like, I mean, there's 2 guys when we get to my waivers here. There's a couple guys that I will mention that maybe you can take a look at. But I mean, Jackson here is not a bad option either. I mean, they played Eastern Michigan, so I'm just like, they weren't that great. But I mean, I don't know. Texas State is going to be a team that we're probably going to be talking about a little bit more and more, because next year we'll say Pac-12, maybe some late night games, maybe Pac-12 after dark. That might be a little groovy. This is going to get a little groovy, man.
Get on this. This will be the YouTube short right here. Get on the Texas State bandwagon now, because guess what? They got a nice NIL budget. For a G5 smaller school, they got a good NIL budget. I don't know what's not to like. I mean, they're joining the Pac-12 next year. I don't know if the Pac-12 will be considered a Power 5 again, or if they'll still be it's a wait and see if they'll be what they're considered next year. But yeah, buy your Texas State stock now while it's cheap. Number 2, Jay, put we did the tight end here. Dorian Thomas. Ooh. 10 catches in week 1. Not bad at all. I think he was targeted 11 times. So, New Mexico was feeding him quite a bit. Only 34% rostered. And who else do they have? I mean, Devin Dampier, the quarterback, is gone. We just saw him tear it up at Utah. New Mexico has got a whole new cast of guys. Somebody's got to get those targets, and why the hell not be the tight end? He's an Arizona transfer. I think he's only I think he was a freshman last year, so either he's a redshirt freshman or sophomore. So still a younger guy, especially if you're doing dynasty, a guy you can keep around for a couple years. Dorian Thomas I like quite a bit. Number 3, Jay probably has a thought on, obviously on Jordan Dwyer, because we mentioned we've mentioned him before. Idaho transfer. He was tearing it up in the FCS last year. Had 12 touchdowns, over almost 1,200 yards. Was one of the highly touted transfer portal guys. TCU was able to get their mitts on him. Only 26% rostered, and I think it's just because the casual college football fan doesn't know who he is. They don't know. What he's about, and they're about to find out, because TCU looks better. They do. I don't think they're going to be, Jay. I don't think they're going to be like they were 3 years ago. Where they were playing for a national championship against Georgia or anything. But TCU might be in the mix. Win 8-9 games or so. It's a step forward, because they kind of took a step back last year. I thought Josh Hoover, damn good quarterback. He's going to be slinging it to Dwyer all year. I would get your hands on this guy as soon as possible. I mean, we're looking easily 1,000-yard receiver, or and more. Aiden Laffery, I put at number 4. He's a Illinois running back. So last year, they kind of had a running back by committee. They still a little bit, this year they still have a little bit of that going on. But last year had 589 yards rushing. Had a nice week 1. He's a dual threat guy. He can catch passes. He's not gonna rip off 180-yard rushing games or anything, but he's gonna get you points. So if you're looking for some running back depth, Aiden Laffery from Illinois, I like him a lot. I like the team a lot. Illinois is a sleeper. For all the bigger programs, with the big budgets, Illinois, they might be this year's Indiana in terms of getting, kind of being a random, like, oh, they got into the playoffs. Yeah. Damn right. Illinois, Altmaier, love the quarterback. So Laffery I put there. And then North Texas's defense, you can get these. I guarantee any size league that you're in. We happen to use Fantrax. Fantrax is our personal favorite app to run college fantasy off of. But North Texas defense, they got to be universally available, Jay. Only 2% rostered. Last week, 2 takeaways, defensive touchdown, 3 sacks. They didn't give up any points. I know it was I get it. I know it was an FCS team, whatever. It all pays the same. All these points pay the same. They got Western Michigan coming up this week. I think they're going to shellac them too. North Texas, they're building a nice little program. They don't have Chandler Morris anymore. Ward, the receiver, they lost him too. So the offense, the new cast of characters, but the defense pretty much the same. So North Texas, I put there. Any thought on any of the the whole collective of the FBS? Any thoughts on any of these 5 guys, or if maybe somebody else should go in? I know Baron Morton from Texas Tech. He's available in quite a few leagues. He's their stud quarterback.
I mean, there's plenty of guys we could probably put in here. I mean, week one. I mean, like I mentioned, I think we're trying not to get too like, or
In love with
draft.
people after week one, yes.
Yeah. I mean, we drafted guys for a reason, and I don't know. Especially, I think it's going to be. I don't know. I think we're going to be talking more tight. I think we're going to be bringing like more tight ends in the discussion, just because, you know, I don't know. For me, it almost seems like the same because we had Tyler Warrens, we had the Oak Gaskins and the guys that were out last year that were kind of irrelevant, for the tight end platform. And so we're all gonna have to get used to new names coming into this year, and so we might be bringing in quite a few names this year when it comes to tight ends. I believe, anyways, because it's almost kind of like a broken system. You're trying to find that one guy that is going to be, the tight end one who's seeing at least 6 targets, maybe you know I don't know, 50, 60 yards, couple touchdowns. I mean, that's what we're going to be looking at here. But I don't know. It's a good game. I think New Mexico's got a good matchup, which more than likely, if they don't have any offense, I mean, why not check down to a tight end where, he's open. Don't
Yeah,
mind
and you look at the list, Jay. Yeah, it's a new cast of characters, like we were saying. Peter Clark from Temple. He had he had 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. In week one. The other random Javante Connor from East Carolina. Two grabs, 98 yards and a touchdown. So there's quite a bit of guys. We'll kind of see who kind of takes the lead position, takes the pole position here. But week one, it's worth kicking the tires on guys. Maybe if you want to be patient too, totally get that. If you want to wait a week, another week or two, but I wouldn't get past week 3, with some of these names, because they're not going to be there, and they're going to be the next John Mateer. They're going to be the next Dorian Fleming. It'll be one of those sort of guys where you're like, damn, I wish I would have jumped on that sooner. Trey Stewart, we remember him tearing it up from Jack State. He was a waiver guy probably still halfway through the year.
Yeah, and he was putting up 100-yard games and a couple touchdowns.
Exactly. 2 touchdowns a game and 100 yards. Yep.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, that's one thing about it too. Other than that, I don't mind it. So Texas State, I mean North Texas, who are they playing? Why did you put them out there?
Oh, they're playing Western Michigan.
Oh, so yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
If they were playing, if they were playing one of the heavyweights, if they were playing a Miami, a Georgia, a team like that, I'd stay away. The experts are recommending, like an Auburn or, maybe, a power, like a power school like that. But North Texas, I liked what I saw in week 1. Run it back week 2. That doesn't mean you have to use them all year. I mean, they're gonna have some tougher matchups, but Western Michigan's kind of a cupcake, and so I could see them, having another 25, 30-point fantasy week. I think they had over 40 last week. I don't think they're gonna replicate that, but still really good.
Gotcha. All right,
do you want G5?
I mean, if you want to throw in a little G5 guys, sure.
I do.
My guess.
I mean, sprinkle it in.
I didn't do any G5 guys, but I mean, we can talk about them because I was going to kind of do my own. Well, I was actually going to have our own stream for G5 waivers kind of thing, and that's what I was kind of my plan was, so that for us G5 guys, kind of a little different realm, kind of keep the bigger FBS teams out of here, and we talk a little bit more smaller teams, because Eli and I were playing one of those G5 leagues, so. I still got to go out there and do some pickups and whatnot. I haven't done any of that yet, but I don't know what's I guess if you want to talk a little G5, that is totally fine with me. You can give them an early preview.
Well, hell, we jump in on stuff, at the infancy level. Remember last year with Squad Blitz, still kind of love Squad Blitz, still waiting on, our OG league or whatever, but Squad Blitz, we brought to you guys a lot last year. This year we kind of want to push the G5, because what do we always say? The fantasy points, they all pay the same. Doesn't matter what school you're at, where you're coming from, there's no NIL budgets here. There's no there's no boosters, there's none of that stuff. So we're we're equal opportunists. So we pick the best of the litter. And the first guy from the G5, the first guy from the G5, I'm going to kick it off with, Jay, Danny Scudero. To me, he's like for San Jose State, at least, he's the new Nick Nash. He's the guy they're going to be targeting a ton. I guess that's quite a bit, but he's available, 70% rostered. So maybe in some leagues, you're going to have a hard time finding him because, the cat's out of the bag. When you're targeted, what was he targeted 15 times week one? The cat's kind of out of the bag. And San Jose State, they're going to need a new number one. And I think this guy fits the bill. Obviously Nick Nash is he made the Falcons 53-man roster, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. No, I think he got cut.
He got cut. Okay.
Well, I think he got cut.
Nash led FBS. He was the number one fantasy receiver last year. So that should just tell you enough. Even if this guy has, 70%, 80% of the, he'll still have a damn good season, of the productivity of Nick Nash. So Scudero, I'll put it number one. Number two, Jay, Evan Simon. Simon says, remember last year we had the daily double, for Bryson Daly. This year, if Evan Simon, keeps pumping out these hot fantasy weeks, it's going to be Simon Says. He spent 3 years in Oblivion, at Rutgers, doing a little bit of nothing. Senior. So, obviously he's a 1 year guy, 1 year loner guy. We're not looking at him for dynasty, but damn good statistics in week one. I think let me pull that up here. There we go. Where is he at? Evan Simon. Yeah. Yep. Jay, he had 6 touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns and no picks in week one.
Oh.
So, it's going to be hard to replicate. Scudero, that is. Scudero. 6 touchdowns. The top quarterbacks, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina is going to have a hard time getting 6 touchdowns. Let's go down the list. Cade Klubnik from Clemson. He's going to have a hard time getting 6 touchdowns. So it's not really a repeatable kind of week, but Simon, if he has 30 touchdowns, that's a damn good year. Sign me up, especially if you need a backup quarterback. Sign me up. Next guy, Jackson Warren. Colorado State. Speaking of Donovan, he kind of turned us on, to Dallin Holker a couple years ago. And we remember before that. The guy before Holker was Trey McBride, who's currently one of the best fantasy tight ends in the NFL. Colorado State has kind of quietly turned into tight end U. We used to think it was Iowa, or we used to think it was Penn State. Maybe it's Colorado State. I don't know. Jackson Warren, damn good. Week one. I'm gonna pull up his statistics again.
Yeah, he had 79 for one touchdown.
Yeah. Yep, 6 grabs, 79 yards, one TD. Damn good season coming his way. I think you're going to target him quite a bit.
Yeah, 11 targets.
He's a young guy. I think he's only I think he's a freshman or a sophomore. I'd have to double check that. Younger guy. So in Dynasty, you're going to be able to use him for a couple years. He's right in line. He's right in line with Trey McBride and Dallin Holker in terms of productivity. I could see it coming. Get your hands on this guy early. While he's only rostered 20%. So he's going to be out there. Number 3, Chris Durr.
He's one guy that I actually have on my list.
Chris Durr.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Wyoming this much since Josh Allen.
Right? And that's been how many years ago?
Yeah, right. Yeah, almost 10 years ago or so. Chris Durr, 48% rostered. So, here and there, in over half the leagues, he's available. Basically what it's telling me. So I'd go after him. Had a monster week one. Let me double check on this again. Yep,
I
yep.
could...
8 grabs, 190 yards, and a tutty.
Yeah.
That's what we call finger licking good. Chef's kiss. We'll see if he can keep that up. But like I said, you put up that kind of stat line, you get my attention. I wouldn't, especially if you guys need depth, if you've got a random guy on your roster, because we've all been there. I mean, some of these smaller schools, you don't know who the hell's starting. Like, we didn't know who the hell was, we didn't know Brad Jackson was going to be the Texas State quarterback, right? You know what I mean? So some of these smaller schools, you don't know who the hell is playing, who's not. Or, the college, they don't give as much information about injuries as the NFL does, obviously. So when you can get your hands on a guy that, could potentially have a 1,000-yard season, you go after him. And then, Ty Meadows, I put at number 5 from Troy. It's kind of a situation where he's finally getting his turn. I think he's a junior, so kind of been just dicking around for 2 years, waiting for his turn. Finally turned into something for week 1 here. And let me dial up his stats real quick. 180. What is this? 186 yards, a tutty, and then you throw in a reception on top of that. So 1 grab, 12 yards. Monster stat line for week 1. Not sure if it's going to continue. He doesn't really have a pedigree to be a 1,200-1,300 yard back, but worth kicking the tires on, especially the earlier part of the schedule while we're all kind of figuring out our team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could be a nice waiver. I mean, guy you maybe put on the bench, because they're playing Clemson this upcoming week. So
they are. I'm fully aware of that.
I was
It's
just
a good
gonna
litmus
say.
test. This is a good test. Okay, if Meadows can go out there against one of the best, I know they lost to LSU. Whatever, I don't care. It was a close game. Clemson to me is still like a top 10 team in the country. So if they can go against a top 10 team in the country, if Meadows can even have a respectable, like if he has like 75 yards rushing, I'd be impressed. I'd be like, okay, he can do a little bit of damage against the big boys. I don't see him going off for 200 yards. That's not going to happen. But as long as he doesn't have like a 10-yard, 7 carry 10-yard kind of game, I mean, you could sign me up against some of these other smaller schools. Troy ain't in any big conference.
Yeah, for sure. No, they're not. They're a smaller team. I mean, it's just the name of the game. I think when it comes to G5, I think we're gonna have to kind of pick our battles a little bit.
Yep.
With kind of matchups and stuff like that, especially for
I'm
the
fighting
smaller
Clemson,
school.
Man. I got one of the swords, daggers, whatever the men of Troy, whatever they're, I'm going into battle too, with my guy Ty Meadows.
Well, that actually wraps up Eli's G5 1 through 5 there.
Let me put a bow on it real quick.
So we're gonna jump on over to my waivers, and then Eli will wrap up his week 2 players to watch, and then we're gonna get up out of here. I know last year we actually had we kind of did a notable games to watch, so maybe that will come up for week 3, for next stream possibly. I'll have to get that in works, but we'll probably have that up in there, and we'll pick and choose a couple games. Maybe fantasy, something that's fantasy relevant, for some of you guys to actually take a look at. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna jump on over to my side of waivers here quick. Help to
He's got MacGyver. not I was gonna say MacGyver. I mean, we all remember MacGyver. The 80s can fix anything guy, superhero.
Yes.
Maverick MacGyver might be that, man. Isn't he the number 1 fantasy quarterback right now?
Yeah, I mean, with 87 some odd fantasy points, almost nearly 100 some odd fantasy points already on the season already. So I'm like, Woof, ugh. I mean, I know we haven't really had a chance to really deep dive into, Western Kentucky yet, but I mean, they have gotten some guys out there, I mean,
Got
Malachi
weapons.
yeah, I mean, just wasn't just a couple years ago that, they had Malachi Corley, who actually, was, kind of, their weapon the last, 2 years ago, and he was with the Jets, but I think he just got cut from them. But
Yep, you got cut.
the Hilltoppers is not a bad way to kind of look at it. I mean, if you might need a quarterback, 8 touchdowns, in 2 weeks already. I mean, mind blowing. There's nobody else has that done already. So other than, I mean, he tossed, 5 in one game and 3 in another game. I mean, other than that, 58% rostered, 34. He's only 34% played. So I mean, and they're playing Toledo this upcoming week. So I mean, if you're looking for another option, I mean, he could be your guy right here, right now for a week 2 smash. That's my thoughts. Maybe put him up if you want to put him on your bench. Go ahead, but hell, why not play the guy? They're playing Toledo. Toledo's meh.
Jay,
You know.
I want to give. Let me try to pull up. Let me try to pull up Western Kentucky's schedule here, because I'm curious. I'm curious to see who's going to stop this guy. Let's
Right.
Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. So at Toledo, they got Nevada. That's a winnable game. That's not a world-beating defense. Missouri State, we saw what USC just did to them. So that, I mean, you could tear them up. Delaware, first year in FBS. We'll see.
Yeah.
FIU, he could wax them. Louisiana Tech, respectable, but New Mexico State, kind of been a joke. Middle Tennessee State, kind of been a joke. Obviously, Jack State, respectable. LSU. So, yeah, up until like the second to last game of the year against LSU, I mean, he could be rolling along here. I mean, LSU is probably going to put a stop to all this, but why the hell not tear it up until then?
I mean, Missouri State just moved up this year. I mean, Delaware. So, I mean,
he's got two. So basically, he has 2 FCS teams that he's playing. And we saw what, like I said, USC just waxed Missouri State.
Yeah.
So, Western Kentucky. Realistically, man. I mean, if they play their cards right, this could be an 11-1 team. We could be talking about them possibly being the G5 representative for the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, number 2 here, Sam Scott. We talked about Wyoming here a little bit. Actually, I have 2 Wyoming guys on here, so I mean that's kind of crazy a little bit to talk about. Yeah,
haven't talked about Wyoming this much since Josh Allen. That's what we've been saying.
No, I mean, I was kind of looking around and I'm just kind of like, I'm just like, man, I'm like, all right, I'm like, this is not going to be a bad matchup because they're playing Northern Iowa. I mean, they're an FCS team. I mean, that's where David Scott or one of our guys came from, who was an Arizona guy.
Is it David Johnson?
I think it was. Yes, I think it was David Johnson. Yep. He was a sensation who ended up getting drafted. And they're playing Northern Iowa. So I believe this could be a repeat for this guy. I mean, 29 carries, 132 yards, no touchdown, unfortunately. But I mean, this guy's only 15% rostered, 9% played. I mean, this guy, is getting the bulk of the carries here. And I like that fact that they're playing Northern Iowa. So there's a very good chance this guy could more likely repeat that 100 some odd yards, maybe a touchdown, not so much in the receiving game. But I mean, I was like, man, this guy almost kind of looks like the, 2.0 of Cam Scadaboo, so I'm like, this guy's kind of bulky a little. Yeah. Number 3 here, Dominic Richardson, Tulsa, running back. 20 carries for 142 yards and a touchdown. And they're
Ooh.
playing freaking New Mexico State this upcoming week. So I mean,
Oh, yeah. That's the easy pickings.
yeah, so that's why I was like, "Ooh, who are they playing next here?" So I was like thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, New Mexico State just got their asses handed to them here, this last weekend. So I mean, I think this is a pretty good matchup against New Mexico State here. So I like that fact a little bit too as well. I forgot to put down what what his roster percentage was, but I think it's very minimal. I think it's either 20 or 30%. If not, I mean, I don't remember on that part of the hand, but I don't know. I like it. It's another easy matchup. Week 2, they play. I mean, New Mexico State gave up, 206 yards on the ground. So I mean, what's there not to like about someone if you need them on the bench, throw them on your bench. But I honestly don't mind it one bit at all. Darian Mensa from my number 4 guy. I didn't see who he was playing next, and I'm like Illinois, and I'm like, ooh. I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I mean, 27 reception, 27 completions, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns. I know. I kind of was watching that game a little bit. I know you're a Duke fan. You're like, ooh, Darian Mensa, ooh, So I'm like, I was on. I mean, Tulane transfer. I mean, he played fairly well, for Tulane last year, and I think Tulane could have been a little bit better, a little bit better, more. Wow, my English really sucks.
I don't know which way to point on my body, and Jay's screwing up words. It must be 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, no. I think Darian Mensa is going to be a guy we'll probably be talking about a little bit more, or a guy that you might be tossing in on some games where the matchup's friendly enough. And I think it's just a little bit step up, but I think this will be a game for him to approve, to actually see if he can actually play with the big boys, because Tulane played, they're a G5 team. I think they had a few big games here and there, but not so many. But I think this will be a test of the match to see if a guy like him can step up to big boys here. And I don't mind it. You can put him on your little star radar or whatever it is, your little watch list. But I honestly don't mind it one bit at all. We already talked about Chris Durr from Wyoming, 8 catches, 190 yards, touchdown. Northern Iowa, not a bad game there. I know this is kind of funny. We got UTEP up in here. You're probably like, UTEP? Why are you talking about UTEP? I mean, UTEP's still a team too. Those Biners down there. I mean, I don't honestly don't mind it. Kenny Odom, he actually had like nine some odd
Pounding that
targets.
rock, Jay.
Yeah, he actually had 15 targets. He was targeted 15 times, 9 catches, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, a guy who's seeing 15 some odd targets is not a bad way to go when they're playing. I think it's Tennessee Middle or something like that. One of those smaller, FCS teams. So
And
I mean,
Jay, he's got Malachi Nelson, who wasn't he like the number 1 quarterback in his class, or he's a 5-star recruit. He's kind of landed at UTEP now. I think
I think he's bounced
he was the
around
guy.
a
He was
little
the
bit.
guy that was at Jay. He was the guy that was at USC in Boise, and then ended up at UTEP. So he's got a decent quarterback throwing him the ball. Odom, of the guys on your list so far, Odom's really stood out to me. I think he could sustain that.
Yeah, so here's another guy that you might want to put on your little star watch list, or just add him to your bench. And I mean, there's if there was a guy from week 1 that you really didn't really like, man, I don't think he's going to pan out what he's going to be. Here's a guy you can actually pick up and replace him with. And now I'm going to get over to my last 3 here. The tight ends, kicker. Well, I don't and the defensive side here at Louisville. So, hang on. Oh, I had a sneeze, but I was ready to cut. I was about ready to sneeze. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, Benjamin Bratcher from I-State. I think this is going to be a very good game because I know they're already talking about the matchup between the Battle of the Iowas, and I hope I-State is a team that actually does move on this weekend. I kind of like it, 36% roster, 20. He's only 20% started. I think I already kind of mentioned the tight end realm. It's going to be I think it's going to be hit and miss a little bit here and there. But I think we're just going to have to play the matchups. When it comes to a lot of these, and he saw 7 targets, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's not a bad day. For week 1. They had some fun, but I don't know with Iowa coming into town or whatever which way it is. I think Beck is going to be tossing the ball to Benjamin quite a bit here this upcoming weekend, and I doubt to see that I can probably see another 30 to 40 yards. Maybe not 2 touchdowns, but maybe 1 touchdown in that aspect. So he's one guy to probably keep your eye on for this upcoming week. And then my kicker and defense here real quick. Will Farron from BYU, pretty much the top kicker of the week because BYU just totally smashed. They're playing Stanford, so I'm assuming, he had 70 points on the week here because of all those extra field goals and whatnot. So we're looking for a kicker. Look at BYU for this weekend. The only reason why I put him on here because Stanford is a little, they're a team that can linger around and kind of stop the drive here and there. So in my eyes, he's going to have to kick it a little bit. So I think there's going to be a few, 3-pointers up in there for this weekend for Will. And my defense, the 39 points on the weekend, Louisville, you're like, oh, why Louisville? Because they're playing JMU. I mean, GMU is kind of been, they've kind of been a rising team, but this is going to be no match. They actually had 4 sacks on the weekend. And there's only 7% rostered, 4% started. So if you're looking for a quick defense, I think Louisville could be a team that could totally take JMU, or it could be totally the opposite. JMU, totally, did a number to, the Tar Heels last year. So it could be totally the opposite.
Hey, news update. I should have put that in the scroll. We don't have a producer, but he just rang my ear. Speaking of JMU, Alonzo Barnett is playing.
Oh,
yeah, Alonzo Barnett. Yeah, he was. Yeah, because I wasn't paying attention to JMU and Weber State. I'll be honest, but Sluka and Barnett were playing last weekend, so that's good for fantasy owners because Alonzo Barnett was one of the best fantasy quarterbacks from 2024. So, but if he's playing, that might change. I think Jay's still probably confident in Louisville, but just had to get that in there for. If anybody's looking for a defense, they will be playing Alonzo Barnett.
I didn't even
fantasy monster last year.
Yeah, well, Corey, I know we talked about him. I mean, we brought him up on our waivers last year quite a few times and whatnot. A guy to actually watch, and as far as I knew that he was not going to probably play because he got injured by the end. I think it was last year or a bowl game or whatever it was. He got injured, so he was up. He was kind of up in the air. I mean, if I would have known that, hell, I would have been drafting Alonzo Barnett for an RG5, and I've said, Bombria, suckers, I'm winning this league this year. But yeah, that's other than that, if not, look at Tulane. Tulane's playing South Alabama. They actually had 3 sacks and 5 takeaways. So the other option, go snake up Tulane's defense and make it a day. One notable mention, Katie Hutchinson from the Hilltoppers. If you want to, pair him up with Maverick, and you'll be golden.
Matthew Henry, I think, is the other receiver. The Hilltoppers just got, like, if you look at the fantasy list like we do, like you look at Conference USA, like the top, in all the different positions, tight end, running back, receiver, quarterback, you see just a sea of red. You see a bunch of Hilltoppers everywhere. So that Western Kentucky offense is lethal.
Yeah, it sure is. All right, we're gonna wrap up our show here with Eli's week 2 players to watch for.
You know what? We didn't get a chance to do this for week 1 or week 0, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah.
Isn't Linkin Park's new album called From Zero, or like maybe they, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything related to that, but yeah, week 0, 1, it's week 2. We got the season rolling here. We can kind of we have a little bit of an idea of what players potential might be. So perfect time to do this. So we're gonna watch 6 guys. Obviously, we just talked about Maverick McIver. I'm gonna call him MacGyver. Because
Yeah.
he's this guy, like we were saying, 2 games, averaging over 350 yards passing per game, averaging 4 touchdowns a game. Doesn't do much on the ground, but doesn't need to. When you're putting up passing numbers like that, who cares? Fantasy monster, the number 1 fantasy quarterback right now. Maverick, just like from Top Gun, get the aviators on. Number 2, Jalen Green, Arkansas. We talked him up quite a bit towards the end of last year, and kind of in the offseason too. Jalen Green, I expected a big year from him at Arkansas. So far, proved me right. He's got another favorable matchup. Arkansas State, they've got a few good players, but they're not world beaters by any means. So could easily see him tearing them up as well. Week 1 had over 300 yards passing, 6 passing touchdowns. And I think he had another game like that in the middle of last year. He had another 6 touchdown game. This is kind of what this guy does. He just has these monster games out of nowhere. We'll see if he can be a little more consistent this year, because if he does, Arkansas is going to be a hell of a lot better, and he might end up in the Heisman conversation. Or not even numbered. We're just going down the list. Got some running backs, Jay. I'm so used to my stupid numbers. I don't even. Robert Henry Jr. From UT San Antonio. Meep. Got the Roadrunners. Yeah. Big week 1. 177 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Throw in 3 receptions on top of that. In-state matchup. Got a big matchup with Texas State coming up. See what happens.
Yeah, I think that's going to be. I think there's some good.
Jay, I don't know if you agree with me. The best G5 game of the weekend: UTSA, Texas State.
Yeah, I might put some do some props on that game if there's some available. I think
I would.
I mean,
beep.
I mean, Katie McNown, Owen, there's a lot of
Owen McCown, UT San Antonio, they got some weapons. We obviously know about Texas State. Even Parr, their running back, is pretty good. So that's going to be a fireworks show. Can't wait. You're going to hear all the networks talking about the Michigan Oklahoma game, like whatever.
Iowa, the Cyclones. And
Iowa State. Iowa can't move the football, So good
well,
luck.
I mean, if you think about it, this gives us a chance to actually see our boy play. I mean, I haven't had a chance to see Iowa.
Gronowski.
Yeah.
So there's a couple other games, but and Mark Gronowski, we like a lot from Iowa, is from South Dakota State. He'll be playing this weekend too. I'd love to see him do well against Iowa State. But this is the best G5 game. Keep your eyes on Robert Henry Jr. The next guy, he's kind of LaQuint Allen. Remember LaQuint Allen last year from Syracuse? Really good running back. He kind of fell under the radar. With the big season Kyle McCord had, but LaQuint Allen was a solid running back.
And Gaskin, they're paired up.
Yep. Yazin Willis, kind of nobody's ever heard of him. I get it, but you have 3 touchdowns week 1, and then we're talking, and almost 100 yards too. Playing UConn. UConn's not a world beater by any means, so Syracuse should win that game, and you'll see if he carries the momentum. Maybe get a couple more touchdowns against UConn. Texas State, we just mentioned. This is the flip side. This is the flip side of Robert Henry Jr. Got Bo Sparks, not Bubba Sparks, Jay. booty, 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 rocking everywhere.
Uh,
Yeah, Bo Sparks, who's you know what? He has 4 touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns week 1. 4 touchdowns. 7 receptions, 4 touchdowns. I like that ratio. That's over 50% of the time. He's catching the ball.
damn.
He's putting that footer 2 feet in the end zone. Meep, 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 meep. Can't wait for this game. This is my G5 showcase game of the week. Tune into this shit. UT San Antonio, Texas State will be great. And then the last guy, Harrison Wallace, the third. He's very regal. Penn State transfer. You know, he had 720 yards last year and 4 touchdowns. Didn't even know that because, I mean, who was paying attention to Penn State's passing game? It was all about the running game and the defense. But we'll see. Ole Miss, they've had some NFL level receivers the last few years. We'll see if this offense can turn him into something special. Week 1, monster game, 5 receptions, 130 yards and a tutty. Kentucky, this would be a good test. Kind of a middle to low end SEC team. We'll see what he does, and if he repeats, another performance like this, then it's like, all right, you take him seriously as maybe one of the better receivers in the country. So these are my 6 guys to watch for week 2.
I mean, not a bad way to wrap up our evening here. I like it. I was kind of looking at that too. I'm like, ooh, Texas State, Roadrunners. I'm like, that's gonna be a cool game. But yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a couple other games I'm gonna be watching this weekend too as well. So I mean, there's a lot to be diving into. I mean, there's props. I mean, I'm probably gonna do a couple props too as well. To try to make some money. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up our evening here. I mean, other than that, if you're watching, watching us late, we're gonna have time codes in there so you can go back and actually catch Eli's G5, top 5, waiver wires. You'll end up catching mine too. My top 9 guys to kind of look at. Either you can stash them or just give them a little start, whatever you prefer there.
Stash them or smash them.
Well, yeah. I mean, other than that, it was kind of nice to be back talking a little college ball, which it's always fun. Just make sure to kind of watch our Instagram. I mean, we do have TikTok too. I'm going to be, so if you guys are, all on the TikTok, I'm going to try to put some of these, shortcuts on, YouTube shorts and whatnot, try to get some of these, little short things out there a little bit. And I will have a waiver wire, ads out there on TikTok too, as well, for people to kind of gander at too, as well. So just little things like that I am working on in the process. I'm going to try to get that up tomorrow and whatnot, to see how that pans out. And yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please give us a like and subscribe. Please share this if you guys can. If you guys like to, I mean, our artists, keep us your little secret, whatever you guys want.
Right.
Get in from the world. I don't know.
I'd be touched if I was your personal little heart's sake, if I was your personal little secret. But the world needs to know about Out of Rhythm. They need to know about college fantasy. Old man is on TikTok. Anthony. Of course, Anthony's late to the party. Of course, he comes in at the midnight hour here. But but thank you for that, Anthony, and thank you for everybody else that's commented as well. Keep spreading the gospel. We're one of a kind, with the college fantasy. So, we love this stuff, and you can help us by spreading the word. So, but yeah, we'll be back. Hell, we'll be back. I think Friday. I think we're going to be doing a Conference USA preview. We probably should have done it a couple weeks ago, but oh well. Now we got some extra content. We got, it helps. I think it helps with some of these smaller schools, man. I think it helps with some of these smaller conferences. We kind of know who's starting now. We kind of know some of the characters in the story. So I think it helps. We know, obviously the Conference USA. I don't know. I think they might be a little underrated this year. So maybe we'll kind of bump up a few of the teams a little bit. Bump them up, pump them up.
Yeah, I think that's about right. But
Yeah.
other than that, we appreciate everybody that's watching and viewed us. Make sure you just follow us on if you're on the Twitch side, you can follow us over there. Discord's actually in the link too. So I mean, I I got a little bit more, the college thing over there. I got a a little thing for top 25, this top 25 discussions that every week that pops out. Put that in there. We can talk who risers and fallers and which teams you guys liked in there. So I mean, there's little things that are popping into Discord a little bit too as well. So, and if you love college and fantasy, that's where you should be, is in our Discord. But yeah, other than that, I think that's going to wrap up our night here. Is there anything else you want to mention quick, Eli?
Nope. Everybody have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. And please be back Friday. And then, hell, be back next week as well. Might double dip again if we have the time, do another conference and do another waiver show, because this was fun. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good night.
Yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Later, guys.